Hey, what's up, Outkick fans? I'm Kurt Schilling. You know me as a three-time World Series champion. I'm joining Outkick to bring you a brand new baseball show where we talk about everything, but only baseball. And you should subscribe to the podcast on Outkick's YouTube and search for the podcast exclusively on Spotify.
As if the McCrispy couldn't get any better, Bacon and Ranch just entered the chat. The Bacon Ranch McCrispy, available at participating McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
The Purple Mafia, with your host, Paladino Joey.
Well, we'll see. The doctors would disagree, but what do they know?
So let's just say that you'll pay me because it's in your interest to pay me.
Is it worth it? I mean, you've won. Do you want to wipe everybody out?
I don't feel I have to wipe everybody out, Tom. Just my enemy. That's all. My father taught me many things. He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
These are wonderful things that we've achieved, and there's no limit to where we can go from here.
Welcome to the family here on Purple Mafia. It is Thursday, February the 23rd, 2012. This is episode number 111. That's right, 111 of Purple Mafia. I am, of course, your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Wygen. Thank you again, Dylan Richardson, who was so kind to introduce me at the beginning of the show, the introduction there. Oh, yeah. Dylan Richardson, of course, is the executive producer of thesportstuff.com. Purple Mafia is available on thesportstuff.com and on iTunes, and I thank each and every one of you always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure once again to be a part of things, and yeah, yet another State of the Vikings address, or State of the Vikings. Here we are. State of the Vikings 2012. Yeah, the big one. Yeah, the big one's here. Yeah, I'm bored. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm very excited. I'm very excited to do this show. It is going to be there's a lot to cover. We're going to put a bow on the 2012 season with your MVP, or excuse me, 2011 season MVP, biggest disappointment, biggest surprise, all as players, of course. Last year, people got a little bit confused and named some events kind of as like your biggest surprise and biggest disappointment, stuff like that. But, yeah, a little bit better, a little more accurate instructions by yours truly this time around. Just try to keep it to players. You can maybe make it group of players, too, like the defensive backs or something. I mean, yeah, you know, a couple people have done that. We're going to get to that, of course. Yep, on the Facebook page. A lot of them on there. We did have one call-in, Sebastian Balls. That's right, Sebastian Balls, back on board again. And just so you, those of you out there right away can, well, the best way to get a hold of me so you can get on the show with call in is 209-736-7877, 209-736-7877. It is a voicemail. Do treat it as such. Mention your show you're calling in for, which is, of course, Purple Mafia. Great to have you on board always, those of you out there. Here we are. Yep, so, yeah, first and foremost, we're going to get to Sebastian's call, then we're going to kind of dig around in the Facebook. We're going to talk about, of course, as I mentioned, your team MVP, biggest surprise, biggest disappointment, other topics posted. Yeah, we're going to talk about the stadium. Is it going to get built? Is it not going to get built? Where is it going to get built? I don't know. Tired of what's going on. I'm kind of getting really exhausted. I'm not sure what to think anymore. I'm really not sure. I'm just not. And the frustration with that continues for all of us Viking fans. Yes, indeed. Sebastian gets to a lot of stuff in the call-in, as always. Hell, a lot of people that call in tend to do that. Miss you out there, Anthony from LA. He's been AWOL of late. Miss you out there. Hope you're still listening. I'm sure you are. And, yeah, maybe he'll call in, talk some free agency and draft for before the next show, episode number 112. But, yeah, right now, it's Sebastian Balls' turn. Welcome back to Purple Mafia, Sebastian Balls.
Hey, Joey, Sebastian again. I forgot to call in last week, but I am here now for the Vikings Save Address. I would actually like to address my MVP of the year for this year, and I would actually have to put it on Adrian Peterson because he did have a pretty good year, despite the end of the year injury, and let's hope to God he comes back for this year. Yeah, that's my MVP, my biggest disappointment. I'd honestly have to say just the defensive coverage in general. I can't point out one because there's so many guys back there that just ultimately blew it this year. That was my main 2 points, and I don't know. Do I want to get to any? Do I have any more to get to? Well, let's see. If we draft, like if Adrian Peterson doesn't really come back, and if it's not looking too great at the moment, in my opinion, do we draft a running back right now? Maybe like a third, fourth rounder, be safe, like Toby Gerhart type stuff going on. Get a speed back. Todman we have, Booker we have. Besides, and I believe we also have Caleb King as our backup running backs right now. Toby Gerhart, we all know, is not a speed back, and Gerhart's good, don't get me wrong. He's not great, but he's good, and he's effective. He's almost like that Taylor Chester type person coming into the shape now, where, not to the point to where he can catch or anything, because I haven't seen too much of him catching. But he can definitely pound the ball through the middle, and he does a very good job in that in Madden 12, too. Just playing that right now. Just beat the Arizona Cardinals. Just fun stuff there. But I digress on our actual Vikings. Let's see. Are you still hooked on Khalil for your main guy to take in the draft, or has a change of heart came about? Let's see. Is there any non-big name players or any players that you're really looking for in free agency that we haven't really covered in draft players, like after seeing the senior scouting and all that other stuff? By the way, those were actually pretty good competitions. I watched some of those. I can't remember any of the names because I'm just spacing out now. But glad to call in again, and I'll talk to you later, Joy. Thanks for letting me call again. Bye.
And I thank you for that call in, Sebastian. Always a welcome member of Purple Mafia, and always a great welcome member on the Facebook page as well. Yep, the Facebook page, facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show. Twitter.com/Purple Mafia Show. Like and or follow those respective pages as well. But yeah, just mentioning, Sebastian Ball is a very frequent contributor on there. Yeah, you can talk to him. We'll get to that in a minute. But first of all, Sebastian, what do you think this is? Do you think this is your show or something? No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. No. I mean, hey, great stuff. Great stuff indeed. Hey, very, very cool. Always an open invitation to Sebastian Balls to call into the show. You can call in every single dang show if you want. Doesn't hurt anybody. It only helps. So yeah, like I said, what do you want to take this show over or something? Well, yeah, no, I'm just kidding. So yeah, Adrian Peterson is your MVP. I can't really disagree there, though. I'll mention my stuff all at the end. I'm just saying, I'll worry about that at the end. Biggest disappointment is the defense. He didn't mention the biggest surprise, but that's okay. Maybe it's on the Facebook page. I'll go check that. But yeah, the defense in general, hey, can't disagree with anything you said there. I can't really disagree with any of that. I mentioned a little bit about possibly because of the injury issues with Adrian Peterson. Heck, I would not be against drafting a running back in the third or fourth round, maybe fifth round, something like that. Caleb King, he looked okay. Don't know all so much about him. I know even less about the other one mentioned in there. I'm going to be frank. I don't know a whole lot about guys that are fourth, fifth string running backs. Maybe they were decent players in college at times. At times, though. They're usually if you're going to be a fourth and fifth string in the NFL, you're probably not much. You probably didn't really have a great college career because there's a lot of guys, like say they played on the Gophers, that really, they weren't even necessarily starters on the Gophers, and they kind of sneak into like practice squads here and there. Billy Cockerham, for crying out loud, was hope I'm saying his name right. I'm so mixed up now. I don't know if it's really I don't know. My whole word is quicked up. But you remember the quarterback of the Gophers in the late 90s, early 2000s. I think that was his name. I don't know why I'm blanking. I should know it. But Yeah, he was on the Vikings practice squad one year, and nobody thought he was a very good college quarterback. So, just saying. I kind of wound that a little bit too long. But yeah, the point of that is obviously, I don't really know much about them. Who knows? Maybe they'll emerge. Booker, hey, the guy's got the skill to be a really good running back in the NFL, but he can't hang on to the football. So he just can't. And that's why you never really heard about him before, Marty Booker, because he can't hang on to the ball, apparently. That's the reason why. I mean, there's always some reason why this skilled player, you're wondering why the heck isn't this guy like a starter somewhere? Oh my goodness, he could probably get 1,200 yards. Well, because he'd probably get 1,200 fumbles too. That's the problem. I mean, the guy, almost every time he touched the ball, he fumbled it. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's like he doesn't even have hands. He doesn't even have hands. They just throw up, the ball's on the ground. Whoopsies. Sorry about that. It's one of those deals. I don't know if his hands are small or like the guy in the Burger King commercial about 2 years ago. That was stupid, but yeah, you get the idea. I have no idea what Booker's problem is with hanging on to the ball. Maybe you should get some lessons from Adrian Peterson, who had a horrible fumbling problem and who's apparently turned it around. It's just too little too late. Yeah, Adrian Peterson may never play in another NFC title game. Who knows? I hope he does. I'm not trying to profess doom and gloom, but I hope he does. Toby Gerhart, kind of like a Chester Taylor role with the Vikings. Sure. He's not the third down receiving back that Chester Taylor was. I mean, Chester Taylor was probably the best in the league at it in 2009. Ever since then, Chester Taylor's fallen off the map. I mean, the face of the earth. He's just terrible now. And I don't know, maybe he'd come back here and be better. But to say a cliche that I mentioned on other shows, and this one, I think Chester Taylor's ship has sailed. That's my new cliche. His ship has sailed. Started from Marcus the Forecaster on Timberwolves Explosion. Yep, good times. My co-host in that show. Yeah. I don't know. I hope Adrian's ship hasn't sailed. I don't think it has. I think he will come back healthy, but again, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen with Adrian Peterson's health. It's a very severe injury beyond unbelievable. And, of course, Toby Gerhart injured as well. I believe it was the final game of the season, if I remember correctly, the MCL. Torn MCL. Unbelievable. It's like, what do you do? MCL is a 6-week injury versus a 6 to 9 month injury in Adrian. So usually an ACL is 6 months, but the fact he tore the ACL, I believe the MCL as well, and I think it's I forget, was it the PCL? No, doggone it. It might have been. It's either the PCL or that thing in the middle, the meniscus or something. No, I don't know. It's one of the other important ones, obviously. Like I believe it was 2 or 3 tendons were torn. That doesn't usually bode well, no. Then again, maybe it was just 2. I'm screwed up here. I might be getting him mixed up with other guys, like Dante Culpepper, of course. Dante Culpepper, he's not mobile anymore. And it hurt his career, because Dante Culpepper really relied on his feet to be successful. It's debatable what you really believe about Dante. But you look at Adrian, I mean, his career hinges on his being able to cut. And remember his ankle being hurt pretty severely earlier on before, he was kind of just getting back from that and he was still kind of sore. That may have helped lead Adrian to his injury because he was unable to kind of avoid the defenders in that tackle that was such a severe, it just didn't work out. He couldn't brace himself properly and, well, I don't know. Again, I'm running too long on that topic because that's just how I roll, I guess. But then again, I mean, it's Adrian Peterson. It's your franchise player. Maybe you do want to run long on that. Don't know what his future holds. I really don't know. I remember you asked about his status a little while ago. Yeah, it's basically what he's said is there's still some pain, but he's, getting there. He's getting there. But that's basically where he's at. I mean, that's about all you can say. He's obviously he wouldn't be able to play if there was football today. No, it's too early. Will he be back by training camp? My hunch would be absolutely, because the way Adrian Peterson is, his competitive nature, he's healed quickly in the past from other injuries. We'll see. He's still fairly young. He's about 26, 27. He's good. But then again, as a running back, if he was compared running back to quarterback, he'd be about 33 as a quarterback, if you know what I mean. He's, got some years left, but he's starting to get a little bit closer to that gray area. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. We'll see. Is Matt Khalil still my top choice in the draft? You betcha. Yep, absolutely. And I'm not saying I'm going to complain if Morris Claiborne or Blackman were selected, but, because, we can just kind of get in the draft here. I'm going to get more into it later, I'm sure. I'm going to get more into it more later, but I'm just saying, you're kind of stealing my script here, Bubba. No, not script, but, my outline for the show a little bit. But, yeah, I'll get to that a little bit later. But, I'll talk about Blackman and Claiborne later and others. But, no, Khalil is my top choice. Absolutely. I'm probably not going to go back in that. The left tackle position is devastating. Horrible. It needs to get better. I know the secondary is horrible, but as they say, the cliche, the game's won in the trenches. Let's start in the trenches. I think you can get more talent in the secondary via free agency and draft, like picks after the third overall pick. Yeah, again, if they took Morris Claiborne, it wouldn't kill me. It just wouldn't. I think he's going to be a franchise cornerback. It wouldn't kill me at all. It just wouldn't. Unless he's a bust, then it would kill me. And Matt Khalil goes on to be, the next Ron Yary for St. Louis or somebody. That would kill me a little bit, but you get the idea there. I'm going too long again. Free agency, other free agents, am I interested in? Well, it's just one of those deals. We'll get into that with the Facebook stuff. I don't want to get into all that stuff this second. We'll get into it as we get deeper into the show. But no, a great call in, Sebastian. Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't want to talk about everything I'm going to talk about later. I don't want to do it all right now, but of course that'll all be addressed. There's guys though, the Finnegans of the world, Manningham, mentioned by Dylan Moss, who's I believe a new listener. Yeah. Those are the ones that are more, out there. You're looking for guys that are more obscure. We'll try to rake through the free agency a little bit here as we get deeper in. We'll see what happens with that. But again, thank you for the call-in. Very, very cool, Sebastian. I'll check again to see if you have any any biggest surprise. But really, yeah. Sebastian Ball's posting the article up there from the Daily Norseman. Yep, this is where we'll get to the Facebook page for now. That they're losing urgency at the state capitol for the stadium. That, again, a huge frustration. I just think the people are ridiculous. And they're unqualified, and we should vote them out. Absolutely. Then now we'll get to the main talk for the time being. I just wanted to kind of get that part out of the way really quick since Sebastian was kind enough to post that article. Do check it out. Frustration continues. It sure does. And yes, the Daily Norseman, if you're listening, is a great website. Yep, if you're listening on the Daily Norseman, I hope you are. And hello. Again, they're available also on Yahoo. There's a link to them from Yahoo Sports, the Vikings page in Yahoo Sports. That's pretty damn cool. So yeah, MVP, biggest surprise, biggest disappointment. Tony Coleman is back. Yes, he is. Tony Coleman. Welcome back from a brief hiatus. Due to the Vikings not being around, they took a hiatus as well. Oh boy, what am I doing? He said his most valuable player is Jared Allen. Yes, sir. He said, of course, deserves honors because of his record season. The guy is a class act and a monster player. I'm biased because he's one of my favorite players anyway, but he made a hell of an effort this season and got some mighty fine numbers. His biggest surprise, I have two. Firstly, Joe Webb. Pretty much every time Webb came in for Ponder, the game turned around. Webb's probably not a popular pick, but the dude scored points. He was a breath of fresh air when Ponder started to stink. Secondly, Toby Gerhart. I never really thought of him as being that great, but when Adrian was out, Toby really stepped up and started earning some really respectable yardage. For me, he kind of came out of the woodwork and made himself known. His biggest disappointment, no contest, Donovan McNabb. Classic. Well, yeah, I don't know why I expected more out of him. For some reason, I thought he'd come to the Vikings and be awesome. No such luck. Money wasted, games lost. Old dude fades away. We've heard this story before here in Minnesota. Yeah, Warren Moon, guys like that. Yeah, Archie Manning, way back, 1983, guys like that. Yeah, just, yeah. I don't want to even talk about him. Yes, we're going to talk about Randy Moss later in the show. Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to at all. I mean, I just don't. But I'm just saying, yeah, we're going to talk about Randy Moss. It's kind of like if you're a video game fan, you don't want to play E.T. for Atari. You just don't want to deal with it, do you? No. It's just, that's about how much I want to talk about Randy Moss at this point. Okay, my point's been made. We'll get to that later. Chris Tucker. That's right, Chris Tucker. His MVP is, gotta agree, Jared Allen. Biggest surprise. I'll go with Percy and his ability to take over games when finally given the chance. Biggest disappointment is a tie between, these are pretty good, Bill Musgrave and Chris Cook. Musgrave did not use Percy or Randolph properly at all. And well, Cook has put our rebuild back a year. P.S. I like what Flash's punter showed this year when he wasn't running for his life. See? See, there's a little inside message right there by Chris Tucker. Draft alignment. Yeah, me and Chris Tucker are, offensive linemen, of course, are absolutely of like mind there. We've both been championing that idea for quite a while. Matt Emer from the UK very kindly says MVP for me is Percy Harvin. What was an absolute beast at times. The player who surprised me most was Aaron Henderson. That's an interesting deal there. I thought he would always be just a backup, but he held his own very well. Biggest disappointment was the whole O-line. Yep, so Matt Emer of the UK also agreeing with us in that topic. And yeah, there were more of these earlier, and I got to go down and get them. Yes, sir. Because I did post this same idea earlier about getting these. Yep, I knew there was one more. Yep, Dan Taylor. Yep, who could forget Dan Taylor, also from the UK. He says his MVP is Jared Allen for never stopping and getting within a few plays of the sack record. Runner-up has to be Harvin. Yeah, who frankly should have played more because he was fantastic at everything he did across multiple positions. Biggest surprise for one game. It's Ponder, who shocked me in his first game against the Pack, but for the season is Brian Robinson, who I thought would be a middle-of-the-road replacement to Ray Edwards, and shocked me by being very good all season, especially at causing fumbles. If he can keep working hard, we could end up with one of the best DE pairs in the league. Biggest disappointment, there you go. Yep, so he definitely agrees with Sebastian here. The whole secondary, maybe excluding Winfield. They couldn't stop anybody at any time, and just got worse as things went on. Also, a special mention to Donovan McNabb, who was a whole special type of useless. That was awesome. Thank you again, Dan Taylor, for that. Yep, thank you guys. All of you. And I know I don't want to be, I don't like to be too goofy with this type of stuff, too sentimental. And some of you out there may think I am too sentimental at times, but I'm going to give all of you that were kind enough to respond to the whole MVP thing a gold star. That's right. Gold star, guys. Gold star. Thank you oh so very much. You guys are the best. Sebastian, Tony, all of you. Chris Tucker. Matt Emer. And Dan Taylor, of course. Very, very cool. Thank you guys for posting into the, adding to that conversation. So now I'll give you the official stamp, the Purple Mafia stamp of MVP. Biggest disappointment, biggest surprise. All right, well, I'm not going to be able to do that because everybody's talked. Okay, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I'm going to give the MVP to Jared Allen because he was that good this year. He just was that good. Obviously, honorable mentions, Adrian Peterson and Percy Harvin. Unfortunately for Adrian, he was injured, and that's just one of those things. There's nothing you can do about that. Jared Allen, though, was even better than Adrian Peterson this year, even when Adrian Peterson was healthy. He was just that good. It's just unfortunate to see such a great season go to waste. What an absolute bummer. What an absolute bummer. And, man, oh man. Hard to accept. It really is hard to accept to see that. It sucks to see a guy have such a great season, yet the season sucked so bad. And it's just one of those things. But no, Jared Allen is your most reliable player with a ridiculous 22 sacks this year. Just sick, awesome stuff. Biggest disappointment? Well, it's one of those things. You just keep bouncing around all over the place with this one. Man, oh man. I'm going to have to go with... Yeah, it's like I just kept bouncing around all season. It's like you could say Donovan McNabb because he came in and did absolutely nothing. You thought he was going to come in and be kind of a slight resurgence, kind of take us to the playoffs, 10-6 record. I really thought that's exactly what was going to happen. Give Christian Ponder a chance to develop. I think Christian Ponder was overwhelmed this year. I think he was in over his head. And it's like he's ready in some ways to be a starter, but not completely. He was a little too raw out there to be a full-time starting quarterback. And Donovan McNabb's lack of production, and I mean absolute lack of anything. I mean, the guy didn't have a pulse. It was detrimental to the development of Christian Ponder. It really was. So, okay, biggest disappointment is Donovan McNabb. I'm going to have to go with that. I have no choice. You could say it's guys like Cedric Griffin. I mean, he's my honorable mention. Because, I mean, and yes, you can kind of defend him a bit because of the knee injuries. That's really why he's not the biggest disappointment over old Donnie McNabb. Yeah, I just called him Donnie. I'm probably one of the few people that would ever do that. But that's the only reason he's not the number one disappointment, Cedric Griffin, because the guy, there were guys 10 flipping, I almost said some other word there, and you can already fill in the blank there pretty easily, 10 flipping yards past him, 10 yards past him. That's how bad Cedric Griffin was all year. And then it's like, oh, he's really asserted himself here. Yeah, in garbage time in the last 3 games of the season. Oh, what were we, like 3 and 10? Oh boy, we're really on our way to a playoff run here with a 3-10 record. Cedric Griffin, go get him, buddy. No, the guy was fighting for his NFL career life at that point because I thought the guy should have been cut. Okay, bring him back in training camp, and if he sucks as bad as he did this year, then cut him. How about that? That's what I say about Cedric Griffin. Oh, goody, he had a spectacular game in a home loss to the Detroit Lions. Gee, I really wish I could do that. Gee, man, that's a guy I want to grow up to be like. Yeah, boy. And I'm sorry for being so hard, but I'm just saying. There's nothing to admire about Cedric Griffin's season. Absolutely nothing. But Donnie, you take the cake, buddy. Oh yeah, Donnie Mack. Yeah, you take the cake. Yeah, for a horrible season, you hurt Christian Ponder's development. Honest to God, he did. And okay, great. Christian Ponder had a good game against Green Bay, and then got smacked in the mouth about as hard as anybody could. About 2 weeks later against Green Bay in Lambeau Field, 45-7. Nothing, and I mean nothing since then. Christian Ponder absolutely buried after that. Very good game against the Carolina Panthers. Got us a victory against another bad team, but against a very good quarterback. Good stuff there in some ways. But Christian Ponder didn't exactly make the kicker. Was it Orlando Mare? Basically airball a easy chip shot field goal that would have tied the game. Yeah, it was a nice airball by Mare. Christian Ponder had nothing to do with that. So, just saying. Yeah. So for back-to-back seasons, it's a aging quarterback, basically taking a knee out there. You could say he took a knee for his career. Donovan McNabb and Brett Favre back-to-back seasons. The biggest disappointment, biggest surprise. I'm jumping on board with Dan Taylor, Brian Robinson. I mean, honorable mention, Toby Gerhart. Absolutely. I mean, anybody that would select Toby Gerhart is the biggest surprise. Gets a hand. Gets a Purple Mafia hand there. Toby Gerhart's development was very, very encouraging this year. It really was. When Adrian went out and Toby came in, Toby's first game was pitiful. Just horse crap. But, hey, his second game and beyond as the starting running back for the Minnesota Vikings, he looked like a starting running back. He didn't look like a backup. He looked like a starting running back. Honest to God. Now, does that mean Toby Gerhart is a franchise quarterback? No. But he played like a starting running back. He just did. Now, there's a difference between a starting running back and a franchise running back, and I hope you guys know that out there. Just saying. Just saying. I'm not saying get on board the Gerhardt bandwagon. I'm just saying he filled the role in a very, very, very positive way. Spot starting running back, there you go. Clearly the guy gave us a threat running. His receiving improved, but again, like Sebastian would tell you, and I would tell you till I'm blue in the face, no, he's not a receiving back like Chester Taylor. But yeah, he's a completely different player than Chester Taylor. He's a lot larger than old CT. I don't know why I'm coming up with these goofy... Yeah, I mean, it's a simple thing, but it's goofy sounding CT. But yeah, Chester Taylor, you know, obviously different players, just totally different. He just, you know, Chester Taylor was smaller and shorter than Toby Gerhardt. So there you go. Good times. So yeah, your Purple Mafia multi-level player, Jared Allen. Purple Mafia biggest disappointment, Donovan McNabb. Your biggest surprise, officially, Brian Robinson. Good stuff. Very good stuff by Brian Robinson. I do agree that he, you know, the one thing about Brian Robinson that could have taken him out of the biggest surprise was the dumb penalties. He had a lot of dumb penalties. But in a season filled with dumb penalties, I'll just have to pick the guy who surprised me the most in a lot of ways. You know, in a lot of ways, Gerhardt surprised me more in some ways, but then again, he was taken with a number 2, with a second round pick, a very high second round pick. We actually traded to get him. So let's, I'm Brian Robinson, always a factor coming in, but to actually fill the starter role and do a good job, he is the real deal in my opinion. He can start at the defensive end position. I mean, there are a lot of guys out there who can, like LaTroy Guyan, who I was fooled by this year. You know, that's another guy I could label as a disappointment. He's the second runner-up for that, as far as I'm concerned. Actually, you know, I was going to give it to E.J. Henderson. That's who I was going to give it to. So we'll go with Donovan McNabb. Yeah, I mean, I blanked on that one. What the hell? I should have just wrote it down, which would have made more sense. But yeah, Donovan McNabb, number 1. E.J., second runner-up. And then LaTroy Guyan. Yep, I mean, LaTroy Guyan. I almost blanked there. Yep, that's LaTroy Guyan, second runner-up. E.J. Henderson, to me, took a few steps back. You can even say in a small way Chad Greenway, because he got that huge pay increase, and he wasn't as good. But no, he was good enough to not get in the biggest disappointment range. But LaTroy Guyan, yep, was disappointing to me. A guy who, the real point here was, can come in off the bench, whatever, or come in off the bench and be a spark plug, get some sacks, be productive in limited time. But then when he's given the starter's role, he didn't do diddly. Whereas Brian Robinson went from that energy guy coming in, second stringer, who would be productive in limited time. They give him the full-time role, and he gets 8 to 10 sacks. So, good stuff. That's what I was hoping LaTroy could do, and he didn't when he needed to come in. That Doyle guy, I don't know. I didn't really have any expectations for him anyway. He was a huge disappointment. The guy that basically replaced Pat Williams. The guy and the other guy was at Doyle. Yeah, as I was saying, one of the high-low guys, and Brett Favre in that infamous Saints purple ankle deal. Yeah, he was a huge disappointment as well. But we can just go on with a million disappointments. Jamarcus Sanford was, I think, below average at best. Yeah, we could just go on forever. Chris Cook, actually, he played better than I expected. And then, you know, things happened. Yeah, we'll talk about that some other time. Don't really feel like talking about that right now. There's other stuff to talk about. Sebastian Balls asked the question, the odds the Vikings take a 1 year lease on Dome like the Twins used to. Well, basically, the Vikings said that the Vikings basically said, yeah, they're not leaving in 2012, so here we go. Well, there's your 1 year deal right there. It's not really a lease, but they're staying. I don't think they're going to do the 1 year thing that the Twins did for quite a while. Obviously, that's not going to happen. The Vikings officially do not have a place to go yet. Thank God for that. they did, but now it's like they kind of don't yet, thank God. The Jaguars are probably the favorite. The Jacksonville Jaguars are the favorite to move to Los Angeles and hopefully change their name. I don't know, Los Angeles Jaguars sounds a little weird, but so does Los Angeles Lakers. In 1961, I'm sure that sounded a little strange. I'm sure it did. Now it sounds like household name, I'm sure, to everybody now. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting. Yeah, me and Sebastian kind of talked back and forth about stuff on there. You guys can check it out if you want. We talked about the North Stars, all that stuff. It was, yeah. We're very frustrated about the possibility of this team moving. So we're going to kind of slide into the stadium topic here. But first, before we do that, before we go to break and talk stadium, I want to briefly, very briefly, get this off my chest about Randy Moss. Well, Randy Moss announced he wants to return to the National Football League. Yes, he did. Past week or so. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm bored with Randy Moss. Randy Moss is my favorite player to ever play for the Minnesota Vikings. I really enjoyed him as a member of this team. But it was always a constant issue with this guy. And it seemed like the further he gets into, the further his career deteriorated, the worse his attitude got. He came to Minnesota. He not only did he not catch the ball, not only did he not really get open, but ladies and gentlemen, Randy Moss did not try. And Chris Carter made sure to mention that on the show. Randy Moss says karma's a bitch to Chris Carter about how, Chris Carter didn't get into the Hall of Fame, did he? Because karma. Because all this stuff you said, you know. Well, first of all, karma is, I don't even want to get into it. It's a bunch of bull anyway. But, okay, maybe not completely. But at the same time, Randy Moss, why do we want him back? And it's not because I'm this Randy Moss hater. Oh, look what he did to the traffic cop. Look what he did to this. Look what he did to that. No, beyond all that, the guy didn't try. I'm looking at the football side of here, folks. Minus all the crazy stuff off the field, the guy didn't even try. He gave no heart whatsoever. Randy Moss was my favorite Minnesota Viking of all time, and I will keep him there, believe it or not. But I want no part of him back on this team. And quite frankly, if I'm any franchise in the National Football League today, I don't give a damn about Randy Moss. I don't give a damn. I'm done. Move on. There's a reason why he didn't get signed last year by anybody. There's a reason why he retired, because nobody was... the showing he gave, not only with the Vikings, but with the Tennessee Titans. I mean, he didn't even catch a pass with the Titans. That's how ineffective he was. Ineffective. He can't get open. He can't get loose. He can't create space like he used to. And he basically had a touchdown pass. I believe it was against Chicago. He had a touchdown, and he barely even tried to catch the damn thing. Barely put his hands up in the air. Didn't give a damn. It's like, whatever. Oh, whoops, I dropped it. That's basically what he did. And it's like, you know what? That's it. That's it. You know, I loved Randy Moss as a player. I miss what he brought back in the day. But it's time to move on, ladies and gentlemen. If the New England Patriots sign him, and he does a great job there, fine. But do I want him back on the Vikings? Oh, hell no. And again, it's not because I didn't love him as a player. It's not because I'm all worried about him, what he did off the field as a Viking in 2010. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm bored to death with Randy Moss. It's over. So with that, we are going to take a quick break and get to another topic that I'm bored to death with. But at the same time, we have to continue to talk about it because it's not going away. It's the Galdern Stadium. We'll be right back after this. back here on Purple Mafia, episode number 111, which is a reminder for iPod users, Microsoft Zune, and other MP3 players. Thank you again for joining the show, and welcome back to the show. Good times. Yeah, it's good times, and yeah, the Vikings stadium deal stays out of reach, according to the Star Tribune. We have that flying around. Yeah. It's just a bunch of bull. I'm sick and tired of this place. I really am. And I know a lot of you will be like, well, if you don't like it here, just leave. Well, that's what seems to be the attitude towards the Minnesota Vikings by the legislature and by a lot of people in this town. And I'm not going to call them fans because they're not fans if they're talking like that. Every time you think you got momentum towards something, you get the same horse crap again. Because now the talk about, well, just like a week ago, just a doggone week ago, it's like this thing is pretty much a borderline done deal here. They're going to build it kind of right next to the Metrodome. And maybe a little bit overlapping it, depending on stuff. And they're trying to minimize the whole time the Vikings would have to play in the U, which is a 50,000 seat stadium. I recently called it 45 seat. It's 50,000 seat stadium for the Minnesota Vikings, and they'd add some extra temporary bleachers as well, which is kind of like what the Met Stadium did many years ago. But yeah, it would just be maybe 2 or 3 years in TCF during the construction because they'd overlap the Metrodome a little bit with the new stadium, but maybe they'd be able to kind of work around it for a little while until the new stadium got larger and took that spot over. Then they'd have to tear down the dome. So the Vikings would probably be able to play in the dome next year. Well, yeah, they'd be able to play in it next year, and I'm not sure exactly when because nothing's official yet. But they already reached agreement with the University of Minnesota and TCF Bank Stadium to play in that field when the Vikings stadium was being built and the Metrodome was unavailable for football. And here we are again. And it was like, yep, the minute the Vikings in Minneapolis reached a deal. That's right. Many of Minnesota Vikings in Minneapolis were they on the verge of reaching a deal? It was basically a done deal type situation. They'd reached a deal with the U, and we've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and here we are again. Viking Stadium deal stays out of reach. And we're just sitting here, and I'm wondering. I just don't know. Their supporters are awaiting a Minneapolis council backing, according to the Star Tribune. That's the one you have to source. Mike Kazuba and Eric Roper, staff writers of the Strib of the Star Tribune. It's getting extremely frustrating, man. I just cannot believe that this is still getting to a point. I mean, they're saying to a point that Governor Dayton emerged to say, after an hour-long meeting today, that an agreement may not occur until next week, if at all. If at all. Unbelievable, man. A week of speculation, folks. A final agreement almost was done. I mean, a week of this was almost done. It's unbelievable. It was almost there, and here we are still farting around. I just can't believe it. Forget my use of words there. Here we are still screwing around. Dayton's quote. Oh, what a famous quote indeed by such a great governor. I'm hopeful. I don't use the word optimistic with this project any longer. The number of issues that remain are limited and can be overcome if all the parties are willing. My question is, why aren't all the parties willing, and what the hell is going on? I can't imagine something like this. I mean, I understand everybody wants to get the best deal possible for themselves. The Vikings don't want to run themselves dry completely, and then the state doesn't want to run themselves dry and all that stuff, and all the bitchy people that don't want to pay for it with a tiny tax increase, sales tax increase, especially sports fans, if it's just given to sports apparel, the tax increase, which I thought was done with the Dome, or the Target Field deal, and I think they would do that with this as well. I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, we were this close, and here we go again with the same classic Minnesota bullshit. Same Minnesota bullshit, folks. And I just said the word twice. Because it gets classic. Like I've said on previous shows, the North Stars, well, we'll start with the Minneapolis Lakers. just would not. Nobody would work with them on getting them a new arena. They were playing in a tiny building that still stands today as a parking ramp. It's tiny for professional sports. So maybe it fit 5,000 people in it. It was ancient. It's cold. It's the Armory. Yeah, it's on the same street as the Metrodome, which is hilarious. And would even connect down to Target Center and Target Field area. 6th Street in Minneapolis. Kind of close to the Dome, kind of, on the way to the Dome from, the western side of Minneapolis, which the Dome is kind of semi on the east side of downtown Minneapolis. It's east of the skyscrapers. You have this ancient building called the Armory. The Lakers played in it for a little while. Minneapolis and Minnesota all refused to help the Lakers get a better arena, and they are, a very successful franchise playing in the City of Angels in Orange County. We all know who they are. We hate them very much, unless your name is Anthony from L.A. Shout out to you, buddy. That's how it all started. And I want to correct myself on the previous show when I said Marv and Harv. They were the owners of the Timberwolves, and they kind of helped screw up the North Stars. Marv and Harv were the original owners of the Timberwolves. The Gunn brothers, were the owners of the North Stars. The Gunns were the owner of the North Stars, and Marv and Harv were the owners of the Timberwolves. The Gunns were very Ziggy Wilf and Craig Leopold-like owners of the North Stars. They loved the sport. They loved the team. They were, they weren't as generous as the Wilfs, because I don't think anybody in Minnesota sports history ever will be as generous as the Wilfs, except for Glenn Taylor, which kind of, it didn't, throwing money at something doesn't always make it successful, but just saying, you'll never accuse them of being cheap. The Gunns loved the sport, loved the team, but Minneapolis and Minnesota legislatures, Minneapolis especially, it's like they could not get anything done. They never worked with them about anything. The Met Center was not making money. In fact, it was losing money, despite the fact it was a very structurally strong building. It was not making money. The North Stars were not doing well. They could have had the simplest solution ever, moved to the Target Center. It was already built. Wouldn't have cost the taxpayers a dime because the Target Center is already there. But Marv and Harv especially Marv, were just not working with them at all. And the Gunns got bored and got sick of dealing with this BS, this same classic Minnesota bullcrap, and left. They didn't leave. They sold the team to a guy from Calgary, Alberta, named Norm Green, an unknown figure. Well, he was kind of a known figure with the Calgary Flames, yes, who won a Stanley Cup in 1989. With Norm Green was involved with that team. He was a part owner, I believe, of that team. And before you know it, Norm Green was not only the owner, he was the president of the North Stars. A very power-hungry man who 2 or 3 years later took the team and ran. He made a minimal effort to try to keep the team here. He saw a profitable opportunity to move the team south in a larger market. And he sold the team within a year or two and moved to Europe. Also to avoid an alleged sexual assault scandal, which has nothing to do with moving the team. Well, yeah, actually it did have something to do with it, but it just shows you that's the kind of bullcrap that happens. What if the Wilfs get bored, just like the Gunns, and sell them to some unknown commodity that doesn't give a damn if the Vikings stay in Minnesota, and they see an opportunity to move them to Los Angeles? Or maybe the Wilfs will get bored and move them to Los Angeles, though they don't seem to be the types. At least they seem to be trying. Norm Green did not give a damn. No. Though they did try to work with Target Center. Marv and Harv didn't work with them. City Council didn't work with them. The North Stars were gone. And that's the result that can happen. And again, I'm sorry of giving you the same lecture, though I did want to correct myself about the Marv and Harv thing. It annoyed me. That's why I listen back to the shows, to try to fix stuff. I listen back to them, folks, because I want to give you the best product I can. And, I'm just, I get annoyed at myself when I make mistakes like that. I really do. Again, the Timberwolves almost left as well, though that had nothing to do. Yeah, I mean, Marv and Harv were absolute villains. They not only screwed over the North Stars, but refused to work with them. I mean, what's wrong with the North Stars moving to Target Center? We wouldn't have had to spend extra money to build the XL Energy Center. We wouldn't have had to hope and pray that the league would grant us an expansion franchise. those of us that live in the Minneapolis area, suburbs and whatever, would not have to drive to St. Paul to watch hockey in a beautiful new arena, which it's just 10 years old, but still beautiful. Not complaining about the building, but just saying I'm complaining about the process. I'd rather have the North Stars in the Wild, folks, especially the way they've been playing. By the way, Brave the Wild is available on the sportstuff.com and iTunes. A very new show has been recorded. Forgive the plug there. Just saying, it was very recently recorded and very fun. Yeah. Again, I know I sound like a broken record, but it's experience talking. Marvin Harv sold the Timberwolves to a group that would have moved the team to New Orleans. Luckily, the league blocked it. And, yeah, the rest is history. Glenn Taylor about the team, and they're still here. Thank God for that. We almost lost them, too. Marvin Harv, obviously villains as well. They're not legislatures, but they're bad. they were bad. But no, that's the kind of stuff that can happen. Thank God the Wilfs aren't like that. They're more like the Guns, and I just hope they don't sell the Vikings to a unknown commodity that doesn't give a damn about this place. I just hope that doesn't happen. Unfortunately, Mark Dayton's reputation does not look good because of what happened this past summer during the government shutdown that lasted an awfully long time. An awfully long time. And, the guy doesn't seem to be able to work things out very well with people. He just doesn't seem to be able to he doesn't seem to be good at it, apparently. And, I don't know, I guess that's who you guys voted for. Not everybody, but some of you voted for him. You have all the right to vote for whoever you want, but regardless if you're whatever party you are, I'm not impressed. Not impressed with how his reputation is preceding himself thus far, the past year and a half or whatever it's been. Not looking too good. Maybe he'll be able to fix it with getting this deal done. Then he would have the most popular team staying in town for a very long time, and that would make him look an awful lot better. Yep, that would be pretty cool. We'll see. But here we are, folks. Here we are, 11th and a half hour. It's like 11:57. It's like 11:57, and when it strikes midnight, ladies and gentlemen, we are left holding the bag, and we just hope that somehow we get lucky. Mm-hmm. Because if the team tries to move, the league would have to approve it. That's the one good thing. That's what saved the Timberwolves. And, here we are waiting and not knowing. We just don't know. We'll get to some other comments here. There's talk about how the Vikings actually will not leave Minneapolis. I kind of misunderstood something that Luke Rasmussen meant earlier. It was the Vikings rule out moving from Minneapolis in 2012. So not only not leaving Minnesota, thank God, but actually not leaving Minneapolis. So no Arden Hills. And Luke Rasmussen says, I am incredibly disappointed to hear this, really. And yeah, it would have been I think the Arden Hills thing would have been good, but apparently that is better than a hammer. Sebastian says he's so excited for free agency. Though, watch out, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to kind of get off the stadium finally. I'm sure a lot of you are praying to God that this thing is going to come to a happy ending soon. I hope it does. Don't know. We're still waiting. But, free agency. Well, the indicators given to you by the very well-spoken but very elusive Rick Spielman, general manager of the Minnesota Vikings. He likes to use the word again a lot. This is basically how he would respond to how the Vikings are going to approach free agency. Well, again. Yeah, no, he would say, again, free agency started when we started signing our own free agents. And we've done a good job signing our own free agents, like Adrian Peterson and Greenway and guys like that. Well, Greenway was last year, but you get the idea there. Actually, Greenway was during the season. Yes, excuse me. Here we are sitting around. Again, they're signing their own free agents. So basically, that does not mean the Vikings aren't going to make a splash in free agency, but that does mean that the possibility of it has weakened a bit. unfortunately. The possibility of the Vikings making a splash in free agency has weakened a bit. So, actually, that's really good that Sebastian mentioned. What free agents would you target should the Vikings, what free agents would you target that are not the big name front page guys, like the Steve Johnsons and just the biggest name guys out there, the Plax Burris, guys like that, Plaxico Burris, and you could name them all. They're the biggest ones out there. Sebastian makes a kind comment saying Joey has been a Vike fan for 20 years, I think he said, and yes, I am correct. Sebastian then adds, he says, I started watching and understanding and playing Madden at age 4, so 12 years under my belt. So being Sebastian, you do the math, he's 16 years old. A young but a good Viking fan. And an experienced Viking fan, believe it or not. Already 12 years for young Sebastian. Forgive me for saying young, but it's true. Very good, very cool to have some experience for the young man. Dylan Moss, a new listener apparently, I believe. He said, just downloaded your podcast and enjoyed it. Definitely going to keep listening. He also just joined the Facebook page, which I hope those of you out there will do as well. Facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show. And guys like Dylan and others, do consider telling a friend about the show. Encourage them to listen to it. And also, those of you out there, I need your help. Do post, if you like the show, give me a nice review on iTunes. Give me a nice review. Tell me what you like about the show. Even say what you'd like to have improved. Please, rate me on iTunes. Please, go to iTunes, give me a review. Please do. That'd be very cool. But no, thank you very much, Dylan Moss. Nice to meet you. And that is very cool. Dylan also with another post. This is a very cool one to get us going in the free agency conversation. He says, I think it's crucial the Vikes should go out and get Mario Manningham and Cortland Finnegan in free agency. Then at number 3, we will have the option of either taking Khalil or even make our offense more explosive with Justin Blackmon. Just wondering what your thoughts are. Well, honest to God, I think you really can't go wrong with that. I mean, I'll start with the draft thing first, because I'm not going to go deeper into the draft in the first round at this point in time overall, other than the deeper parts of the draft. I'll just say we need to build depth. We need to build depth, like he mentioned the running backs, but I'll get to that in a sec. But no, I think you can't really go wrong with the third pick. You might go wrong in terms of, like, maybe you pass on somebody who is not as good, who is way better than the other one. But at the same time, I think one way or another, you're going to get a wonderful player. Justin Blackmon should be a very good receiver, though I think he's my third choice right now, just because. I mean, Morris Claiborne could be a spectacular franchise cornerback. Matt Khalil is a franchise left tackle. I think he's the safest and best overall choice with the third overall pick. And, when you have a pick that high, which the Vikings rarely do, thank God that we're not never that bad, though we've had a lot of horrible seasons, yet still wind up with like a 7th and 12th in range, and which drives me nuts. But to be in the top 3, if you have that franchise lineman sitting there and your line absolutely sucks, I think you have to start building your foundation with a boulder. You got to have that pillar to build the foundation. And I think Matt Khalil is a pillar. I think he would be a spectacular choice with a third overall pick. Though will St. Louis do that? Will St. Louis make the move and take Matt Khalil? I don't know. They might take Claiborne. They might take Blackmon. Who knows? Whatever they take, it's going to be a good pick. There's even thoughts of Robert Griffin III possibly even coming here, possibly to the Vikings. Say, you know what? Screw Christian Ponder. We're gonna make him work. We're gonna make him earn it. That'd be a fun, interesting way to go about things. San Diego Chargers did it, and that lit a fire under Drew Brees, who did a lot better, though unfortunately left via free agency. And the Chargers did still have Phillips at quarterback. That was a good. They still had a very good quarterback, indeed. Though Brees even better than Phillips, yes sir, despite the great numbers. No, yeah, Khalil. My thoughts are Khalil. Mario Manningham and or Cortland Finnegan, hey, nice additions. Finnegan is a guy who's been floating around an awful lot in a Viking free agent talk. Absolutely, they wouldn't kill me at all if the Vikings were to get Finnegan. Mario Manningham would probably not be too expensive, though he's certainly... you might overpay for a guy like that because of his heroics in the Super Bowl. It's a little bit risky. It's a little bit risky because, yeah, you're probably going to overrate his... he might try to ask for too much. I would wait on that a little bit. He did make some mental errors in the Super Bowl, and Chris Collinsworth, like him or not, was making an awful lot of analogies in that direction, saying that, hey, this guy has made a lot of mental mistakes. A lot like Martell Webster of the Minnesota Timberwolves the past couple nights. You probably some of these sports fans, or multiple sports fans, have heard of that. Yeah, he's been driving people crazy, not just driving to the basket, but when you're down by 3 with no time left, going for a 2, you're in complete moron there, Webster. But other major mental errors during the game that drove people crazy. And Manningham was kind of like Martell Webster that way. So he wouldn't be my top choice, though he wouldn't be... I don't think he'd be the worst choice ever either. Marcus Colston, I think, is my number one choice at wide receiver, to be honest. Dwayne Bowe would be great. I think KC's going to do what they can to keep him. Reggie Wayne is wonderful. Pierre Garçon is probably one of the more not upfront ones that Sebastian would like to... Yeah, one of the ones that are not as upfront. That's an interesting one. Eddie Royal's a free agent. I've never really liked him. Would he fit in here? Maybe, probably. I don't know. There is a lot of wide receivers out there on the market. There are a lot. Demetrius Williams of Cleveland is an interesting, not front page guy. There's a lot of them out there. Well, we could get Steve Johnson of Buffalo. No, yeah, we already know that. Roy Williams, no interest whatsoever. I like Earl Bennett more than him, and he's not that great either. Wide receiver, I think, is one of the easier positions to improve to improve without making the biggest splash ever. You can do it, though. They made a lot of, there's been a lot of ones that have not been very exciting over the years. Mike Wallace is restricted, and he's going to probably get a franchise tag. Don't even think about it. Vincent Jackson, obviously a very high-end version of it. I'm not as stolen him as other people. I'm going to tell you that, folks. I'm just not. He kind of drives me crazy. Braylon Edwards, whatever. Hell no. What a bust. What an absolute bust. Really. And anybody on Washington, I'm not real interested. Justin Gage, he's okay. I don't know about that, really. Kevin Curtis, it kind of bores me. Robert Meacham, I like. New Orleans as well. Colston or Meacham would be kind of nice, actually. Deion Branch is getting up there in years a little bit. Devin Aroma Shadu is a free agent of the Minnesota Vikings. I wouldn't mind bringing him back at a fairly low price if we could. That wouldn't kill me. It wouldn't kill me. I wouldn't mind bringing him back at a decent, cheaper price. I hope the Vikings can pull that off. But those are some of the wide receiver, low-end free agents to give a look-see. Tight ends, we're not even going to think about that right now. Though, there's a lot of the running backs. It depends how you feel about the fullback position. I like LaRon McClain an awful lot. He was at Kansas City last year. Ernest Graham of Tampa Bay is a decent player as well. You can kind of look at him as he's kind of like a fullback and running back, Ernest Graham. He's okay. Jeff Dugan is still out there, which is kind of funny. I don't know about that. We already let him go. Michael Bush, obviously a huge name free agent running back. We're not going to be doing that. Hey, we could give Miguel Dumar back. Do it. No, that's okay. Matt Forte, believe it or not, is a free agent. Ray Rice, those guys are just huge names. I think those guys are going to stay where they are. Yes, Chester Taylor's available, and I don't know about that. We'll see. Ryan Grant, ladies and gentlemen, is a free agent. Lendale White is a free agent. Lendale White, he was with the Tennessee Titans for a while, and he was good and not so great. He went to Denver, same situation, good, not so great. Lendale White, maybe. Thomas Jones obviously is pretty old. Lorenzo Booker, no. LaDainian Tomlinson is a free agent, getting a little up there in years, but very good still, believe it or not. Marshawn Lynch, no, thank you. No. Cadillac Williams, no, thank you. Ernest Graham is a guy I would look. Yeah, I think Ernest Graham is a guy potentially look at if you want to have insurance at running back. If you're really not sure what Adrian's future is, Ryan Grant as well, the current Packer. He's a guy I'd look at, though. I'm sure he's going to want to stay in Green Bay. And it depends on if the Packers want to keep him or not. We'll see. They probably will. Lendell White, who knows? I mean, it wouldn't kill anybody to bring one of those guys in to at least give you some insurance at the running back position. You have damaged goods there, ladies and gentlemen. You kind of need healthy knees to be a running back in the NFL. Adrian Peterson has a knee that was almost ripped in half, practically, medically speaking. You had very broken medically speaking, but you get the idea. And then you have young Mr. Gerhardt with a torn MCL, which I believe is probably healed by now. I got to think. Probably maybe a little bit of soreness, but healed in general by now because it's a 6 week injury. But I don't know if you need that. I mean, possibly look at it, though. I'd probably favor the draft at that position. Offensive linemen out there, yeah. Well, there's always guys out there floating around. Offensive tackles. I mean, it's not the position I study the closest. It's just not. Guards are out there as well. There's Carl Nix of New Orleans. It's a guy people like. Evan Mathis of Philadelphia. I mean, who knows, though. I'm sure they'd probably demand a higher salary, being they're more of the top end ones. It's, Derek Dockery of Dallas. You got to like that. I really don't know where to go there. Center, we're okay because we kept Sullivan. That's a good thing. Defensive lineman, you got Mario Williams. That would be incredible, though I'm sure Houston's going to want to keep him. Signing a defensive lineman wouldn't kill me, that's for sure. Corey Redding, high-end one out of Baltimore. John Abraham out of Atlanta. You're not going to get those guys. They're a little bit big name. There's no doubt about that. Andre Carter of New England. I mean, who knows what's going to happen here? There's a lot of decent ones, and there's a lot of stiffs. It's just it goes. That's the problem. I mean, there's decent ones. It goes from good to stiffs pretty quickly in the linemen's positions. It really does. Defensive linemen in general, defensive tackles. I think I wouldn't be disappointed if the Vikings brought in some type of a linebacker. Manny Lawson of Cincinnati is a notable one. Not top end, but notable. He's a guy I would consider, no doubt about it. The Quill Jackson of Cleveland. You got Anthony Spencer from Dallas. I mean, it certainly wouldn't kill me if the Vikings were to bring in somebody. It really wouldn't. Xavier Adebayo, wasn't he here? That's funny. In fact, he was. Yes, he was. Yes, he was here. E.J. Henderson is a free agent. That's funny. Yep, we got to, that's a guy the Vikings have to try to keep. Yes, we do. We have not actually kept him yet. It's going to be interesting to see how things turn out with with the linebacker position and everything else. David Hawthorne would be an awesome addition, though I don't know about that. I'm not all too going crazy about that. Ben Lieber is a free agent. The Vikings let him go last year via free agency. They just kind of let him go. Ben Lieber, do you bring him back? Nah. He's kind of getting up there a little bit. It seemed like every year he got a little bit worse. So I'm not really sure where to go with that. London Fletcher would be an incredibly nice addition as well. So now we lead to the defensive back position, which everybody wants to get things going here indeed. Brandon Carr. Brandon Carr is one of the more notable ones that the Vikings have definitely expressed interest out of KC. That is the guy the Vikings should consider going after. Will we keep Benny Sapp? Benny Sapp was kind of disappointing. The Vikings traded him before the 2010 season, right before it, in fact, to New York Giants with Sage Rosenfels. And it's funny how the Vikings got Benny Tapp and Sage Rosenfels back from Miami, of all places. And that's where both of them are in Miami. It's hilarious how that turns out. They both came back to Minnesota after being cut. I don't know. You got Tracy Porter of New Orleans. I think it'd be awesome. I mean, the question is, though, how much money are the Vikings going to be willing to spend? How much are they going to be able to spend? They need to really build up this secondary, though. I think Brandon Carr would be a nice addition out of Kansas City, though. That would be one of the guys I'd look at. Absolutely. And, of course, they're there looking at him. Finnegan. If we walked out with Finnegan and Carr, that'd be crazy, though. I'm sure that ain't going to happen. I kind of think Carr is the favorite at this point, but we'll see. Finnegan is probably, well, Carr's not the favorite. Finnegan's the favorite, but I think Carr is the most likely to happen. Tracy Porter, again, out of New Orleans, that would be nice. That would be nice. He kind of helped break our hearts a few years ago. Yes, he did. Yeah, Brent Grimes out of Atlanta, that would be the best. That would be the top end scenario. Safeties, of course. Yeah, I mean, you just can't go wrong, can we? No, I mean, you got to get anybody you can at that position. You really do. LaRon Landry, yes. That would be the most high-end one. That would be my top choice. LaRon Landry out of Washington. Yes, sir. He was available when Adrian Peterson was drafted. He was taken 6th overall by Washington. He is an outstanding safety, ladies and gentlemen. I like him an awful lot. I would do what I could to get him. Sean Jones out of Tampa Bay wouldn't be the worst idea ever. Bob Sanders out of San Diego. Hey, Bob Sanders, baby. Only a 1-year deal with San Diego. He had a pretty good year. Maybe we go after Bob Sanders. Maybe we do. Medea Williams. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? No, I would not be against Bob Sanders. He was a free agent last offseason and signed a 1-year deal with San Diego and did fairly well. I would not be against that at all. He certainly kicked the Vikings' butt in the season opener in San Diego, didn't he? Yes, he did. I mean, I like Bob Sanders an awful lot. He's a great tackler. Small guy, but a major tackler. And when he's healthy, he is an outstanding, one of the best safeties in football. Yeah, it's an endless array of guys that could help build the Vikings secondary, linebacker core, and all that. We'll get further into free agency as we move on, but again, as it's state of the Vikings involved as well. Let's try to improve this team. And those of you out there would like to know who to go after. Well, those are guys to consider. Unless you want to throw your money at like Matt Flynn, because doggone it, he just did so super good, in Green Bay as the backup. Let's just throw $7 billion at him and let's go, baby. Let's go. Or let's get Chad Henne out of Miami or somebody like. No, let's just not even think about it. No, I wouldn't mind getting LeRon McClain, but I don't know how much money you're going to have to throw at him. I have no idea. I really don't. It's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. But I think the wide receiver position absolutely is the easiest to fill. The wide receiver position absolutely is the easiest to fill in free agency, in my opinion. I mean, there's so many guys the Vikings could get. The question is, will they get them? Don't know. I mean, of course, the Colston, Meachams, the Burris is a guy we probably won't go after. I don't think we're going to go after Deshaun Jackson. Mike Wallace is high end, and he's going to stay in Pittsburgh or get a ton of money somewhere. Vincent Jackson, yeah, Brandon Lloyd, St. Louis, all these guys. Even Lauren Robinson out of Dallas. But there are a lot of other guys who could come in and fill and be something here. I really do. Even Garcon out of Indianapolis, who a lot of people do think will wind up in Minnesota. A lot of people do believe that Pierre Garcon will wind up in Minnesota. He's not a top-end guy. I think he would be... I think if you're signing 2 wide receivers, he's the second one. You know what I mean? Hopefully it'll be a bigger name guy like Robert Meacham to go with Pierre Garcon, because it wouldn't... I mean... Signing 2 wide receivers wouldn't be the dumbest idea ever, ladies and gentlemen. Because I'm sorry, Greg Camarillo and guys like that ain't going to get it done. And if you're not bringing back Devin Aroma should do, get Pierre Garçon and Meacham. That would be what I'd like to do. That'd be a very ideal situation as far as I'm concerned. Boy, I wish... I try not to cough myself to death here. I wish there were more call-ins, but hey, it's been still a fantastic show as well. I hope it was to your liking, those of you listeners out there. I hope it was to your liking. State of the Vikings 2012. The next show will be similar in a sense. It'll be a lot of the same stuff. Of course, we're not going to put a wrap on the 2011 season again. We're moving on to 2012. It is 2012. We're here. It's going to be free agency, it's going to be draft, and it's going to be stadium. Free agency, draft, and stadium are going to be the main topics for Purple Mafia for quite a while, for the next several months here. Yes, they are. Jericho Cotchery. Okay, sorry. Yep, when the Vikings do sign Jericho Cotchery, we're going to get those jerseys printed, and we'll have 10,000 autographed jerseys for that guy. I hear on Purple Mafia, we're going to just give them away for free. Okay, I'm just kidding. That made no sense, did it? But, hey, you guys out there have been fantastic to this show. I thank all of you for listening all the time. With that, we got to get to the contact details. Purple Mafia being available on the sportstuff.com. That is the flagship website for Purple Mafia. Do join it by simply going to the front page of the website, then click on the button that says TSS Boards, then click register, get your screen name, get on those boards, post anything you want. All the forums are split up into the divisions, the different divisions of the National Football League, and that was Dennis Green, by the way. I don't know how good you like that imitation, but hey, it generates more discussion when they're split up into the divisions. Get on there. Talk football with guys, argue with people, whatever you want to do. Get those Lima Swede jerseys ready if the Vikings sign him. Yeah, okay. Or go on to the Pittsburgh division and say, yeah, give us Lima Swede or just suffer the consequences. There we go. Or let's get Devin Thomas out of New York Giants. Let's trash talk those Giants fans and say, yeah, you got your championship, but now you're going to lose everybody that you got because we're going to get Manningham and Devin Thomas from your wide receiver core. Oh, yeah. And if we're especially bored, we'll even sign Dominic Hickson from New York. Okay, that's enough of that. But no, do whatever you want. Talk trash, as long as it's clean enough. Enjoy your times on there. It'd be very, very terrific. It's a wonderful website. It's a wonderful place to talk football and other sports as well. Basketball, baseball, hockey, anything. There's even a place for politics. There's a place for soccer. There's a place for everything. Video games. Very cool indeed. Yes, it is. Don't forget about Purple Mafia. The Purple Mafia Facebook page. Facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show. Twitter.com/Purple Mafia. Like and or follow those respective pages would be also terrific. Thank you again. Welcome on board to those of you new listeners. I hope you enjoyed it. And, let's get the foundation built. Let's get Matt Khalil. Yeah, let's get Matt Khalil. That's my guy coming in. And let's get some doggone wide receivers and everything else. Yeah, let's just sign everybody. Yeah, let's just get better, damn it. And not bring back Bernard Berrien. Yeah, obviously we're not going to do that, but I'm just saying. Let's not get in another Bernard Berrien where we're all like, here it is. There's your answer, wide receiver. And it's just a complete flop. Absolute waste of time, money, and effort. Let's hope and pray that this team can make the improvements they need to make. It's going to be a long road, but the good news is in the NFL, sometimes you're able to travel very far in one off season. When we say it's a long road, sometimes you're able to travel very far. Certain teams went from nothing to everything in a very, very short time, ladies and gentlemen. So, hey, you make the right draft picks, you sign the right free agents, especially making the right draft picks, though, and you have the right coaches as well. Things can get very interesting. Who knows? Who knows what will happen in the coming months? And let's just hope we have a new stadium deal. I'm going to close with that. Let's get that stadium deal done, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, God, I hope and pray. call your legislatures, call everybody, say get this damn thing done. Let's move forward, keep the Vikings in Minnesota, and end this nonsense once and for all. Again, thank you for listening, and good night.